By August 27th, Bryce had literally changed into a different person. And they find that Bryce had only moved about 8 miles over the course of 9 hours. Got a new background. And in the process, I may have also broken my camera lens. That's how my day is going. Hope yours is going a little bit better than that. Hey guys, welcome back, or if you are new, welcome to my channel. My name is Courtney, and I am here to give you the creeps. Yeah, I said it. We're sticking with this intro. I really like it. If you are into true horror, I highly suggest that you hit the subscribe button and turn on the bell so you're notified every single time that I upload, because I come on here every single week and tell you guys another true and scary story, and today's video, it's one of those. So I've been following this unresolved mystery for probably 2 to 3 years now. It's just one of those cases that I constantly go back to, and every time I look into it, it just thoroughly creeps me out even more than it did in the first place. Do you guys have one of those, almost like a pet true crime case that you guys really kind of are terrified of, but at the same time can't not look into at least once every few months? Because that's what this is for me. Today, we are talking about the unresolved mystery that surrounds the disappearance of Bryce Laspisa. And if you don't know who Bryce Laspisa is, you're gonna wanna hold on tight for this one, okay? Now, back in the fall of 2013, Bryce Laspisa was attending his sophomore year of college at Sierra College in Chico, California, I think. I really should know that. His friends and family described him to be a very social person. He was very outgoing and had a lot of friends both in high school as well as in college. And he was doing really well within his program, doing industrial design and graphic design, which is, in my opinion, kind of difficult. I don't know much about graphic design other than the fact that my brother majored in it, and he had not a rough time, but his coursework wasn't easy. Not that mine was, but it was a lot easier than his. At the time, Bryce just moved into an off-campus apartment with his friend Sean, and his girlfriend had just moved into an apartment right down the road from theirs, so it was a pretty sweet setup going into his sophomore year of college. Now, classes that year started on August 26th, and Bryce attended his classes as usual. At the end of the day, he ended up calling his mother Karen, and she noted that he seemed like his normal happy self, nothing out of the ordinary. She also said that she saw him in pictures on social media with friends, and that those pictures too seemed normal, and that there was nothing out of the ordinary to be expected from Bryce at that point. However, it didn't stay that way, okay? Because by August 27th, Bryce had literally changed into a different person. His demeanor changed into a different person. Not literally. I got really excited with that one. Okay, you can have that. It was at this point that Sean, Bryce's roommate, as well as his girlfriend Kim, started noticing some strange behavior from Bryce. Specifically that he was taking medication that wasn't prescribed to him, known as Vyvanse. He didn't have ADHD, and that is an ADHD drug, so that was concerning. And then on top of that, they noticed that he was also drinking heavy amounts of alcohol in conjunction with taking this pill, which again is pretty concerning. And it's also important to note that Bryce wasn't a big partier. He did drink in some social settings, but it wasn't to an excess that everyone felt like they should worry for him. It was just every so often in social settings he would drink. So it was really out of the ordinary for him to be, first of all, taking a medication that wasn't prescribed to him, and then on top of that, he was also taking it with a bunch of alcohol. It just didn't really seem like it was in his character, and it scared Sean so much that he ended up calling Karen, Bryce's mother, to let her know that he was kind of having a hard time. It was also at this point in the timeline that Bryce started giving away his personal belongings that were relatively expensive items. Like, one of them was his Xbox, which he had been playing quite regularly according to his roommate, and then on top of that, he gave away some of his mom's diamond earrings. And I don't know, I just feel like that's kind of weird, seeing how those are two really expensive items. One of them was a family heirloom, and then one of them was something that he used all the freaking time. I just feel like he was planning to not need to use them anymore. Does that make sense? Like, why would he give them away unless he was planning to not need them anymore? You know what I mean? Later on that day, Kim, Bryce's girlfriend, also received a text message from him that simply stated that she would be better off without him. Weird, right? Like, why would he text her that? She wanted to know the same thing, so she ended up texting him and saying, hey, can you come over to my place so we can talk about this, because this seems really out of the blue. You're breaking up with me via text message, like, why? You know what I mean? Now, Bryce agrees to this request, and he ends up going over to her apartment around 10 p.m. that night, and when he gets there, he pretty much tells her the same thing and formally breaks up with her in person. That said, Kim did say that he seemed kind of out of his element. She said he seemed unwell and very agitated, and given his behavior over the last couple of days, she felt that it wasn't safe for him to be operating heavy machinery, you know, like driving. She didn't want him to drive. So as a precaution, she actually ended up taking his keys. Some people were saying that that's just retaliation for him breaking up with her, but honestly, like, good for her. However, this plan kind of backfired on her because all it really accomplished was Bryce calling his mother, trying to get her to like intervene in the situation, which of course she's going to do because she's his mom. That being said, at this point in the timeline, Karen is kind of getting concerned because it's the second call of the day that she's received from either Bryce or someone who's important to Bryce saying that he was acting really strangely and out of his own element. You know, like he's giving away your diamond earrings. That's not good. So while she's on the phone with Bryce, she ends up offering to fly out there to check on him and help him kind of get back on track because obviously he's having some sort of breakdown, or at least in her opinion, as well as his friends' opinions, he is. Obviously. But Bryce ends up just kind of brushing her off and saying, "No, Mom, I'm fine. You know, this is just a breakup gone dramatically wrong. Can you please tell her to give me back my keys so I can go home?" And against both of their better judgments, Karen asks Kim, there's a lot of K names in this story, to give him his keys back, and he leaves the apartment around 11:30 under the pretense that he would return back to his own apartment. However, he does not do that. No, he does not. So a little while later, around 1 a.m., Karen misses another call that she receives from Bryce, and she doesn't really think much of it. She just kind of thinks like, you know, he's letting me know that he got home safely. It's fine, and she goes back to sleep. Nothing to worry about, right? Well, wrong. Apparently, they were able to look into and like ping his cell phone at the time that he made this call, and he had driven literally an hour away from his apartment and was just sitting in an isolated location. That's a quote. He was literally in the middle of nowhere, guys. Why? Anyways, the next morning they end up missing a call from Bryce, and he leaves a voicemail saying that he used their roadside assistance to get gas because he had run out of gas on the side of the road next to something called the Button Willow Rest Area. And a little while later, he receives about 3 gallons of gas from a business called Castro Tire and Gas. Now, this rest area that he had broken down at or ran out of gas at was actually 3 hours away from his parents' home. So when they saw that, Michael and Karen, his parents, kind of figured that he was just driving back to their house and that he'd like called home to tell them that he was coming home and that they had just missed his call and it was just a big old miscommunication, okay? I feel like that's fair. Like, I can see that happening. It's not what happened, but I can see that happening. His parents throughout the day ended up trying to call him a few separate times and they kept getting voicemails, so after a little while, they ended up calling that Castro Tire and Gas place, and they spoke to a man named Christian, who was the one who brought him the 3 gallons of gas. Christian is my guy because he was like, yo, you know what? I'll just drive over there and make sure he didn't get into like a crash or something. Like, it's no problem. It's not very far away. I don't mind doing it. I'll just head over there now. Like, what a swell guy, you know? Like, he didn't have to do that, but he did, and he was surprised by what he found, okay? He just finds Bryce just chilling at the rest area, still in his car, hadn't moved. Like, what you doing, bro? I'm sorry, I'm not trying to victim blame. I'm just trying to put myself in his shoes, because I have no idea what's going on. So at this point in the timeline, Karen is obviously really concerned with what is going on with her kid. So she asked Christian to put Bryce on the phone so that she can figure out why he was just chilling on the side of the road near a rest area 3 hours away from their house for no reason at all. And he responds by saying, and I quote, nothing. End quote. That being said, according to Christian, Bryce seems to be in no physical harm. His eyes were a little bit red, but other than that, he seemed to be okay. So after talking to his mother on the phone via Christian's cell phone, Christian sends him on his way back up to his parents' house, and he was expected to be there around 3 p.m. However, that time rolls around, and Bryce does not show up. So what are they to do? So they end up tracking his phone, right? And they find that Bryce had only moved about 8 miles over the course of 9 hours. Like, what? He was still in this little town of Button Willow, and I looked up this place, and it's literally just a bunch of cornfields. Like, here are some pictures up here on the screen. What was he doing? Like, what was he doing? I don't know, but I'm thoroughly creeped out, and I hope you guys are too, but also, like, sorry if you are. Now, this goes without saying, but this is not a direct reflection of Button Willow as a town. I just thought that it was really interesting that Bryce was in an area for such a long period of time with nothing to do and nowhere to go. Now at 9 p.m. he still hadn't really moved from this location, so they decided to call a state patrol officer to kind of go and meet Bryce and see what the heck is going on, because obviously there's something happening here that's preventing him from driving home. So the officers end up finding Bryce in his vehicle on the side of the road on Lagoon Drive in Buttonwillow, and they spend about 20 minutes with him where they do a sobriety test, which he ends up passing. And that's good because he wasn't driving under the influence of anything. He was just sitting on the side of the road, which in and of itself is really kind of odd, but at the same time he's not breaking any laws. So they end up just saying, hey, call your parents and let them know that you're not in any sort of trouble. Okay. Now this does take a little bit of convincing, but after a little bit of back and forth, Bryce reluctantly does call his mom and tells her that he's gonna go hang out with some friends, which, surprise, surprise, he doesn't do. Instead, around 11 p.m., he ends up showing up at a gas station and he buys a drink for $1.71 and then about $39 worth of gas, which he puts into his Toyota Highlander. I don't think I said that yet, but he was in a Toyota Highlander. Now, at some point during the night, his parents end up calling his roadside assistance again because they hadn't heard from him in a while, and they end up finding out that he was still in the same area of Buttonwillow for about 13 hours at this point, so that was strange, and they sent a guy out to his car. Now, it was actually this roadside assistance driver that followed Bryce onto the interstate for a few miles just to make sure that he got on his way smoothly and was heading back to his parents' house instead of just sitting there for whatever reason that he was sitting there for. And honestly, I think that's really kind of killer, but like not in like a murdery kind of way, just like a really cool way, you know? I'm not a normal mom, I'm a cool mom. Then Karen received her last call from Bryce at 2:08 a.m. in the morning, letting her know that he was tired and that he'd been up for over 48 hours and that he was gonna stay on the side of the road and get some rest for a little while. And at this point, Karen didn't really argue with him because she had full faith that her son was on the way home, but at the same time, she didn't want him to get in a wreck due to his exhaustion, so she was like, okay, yeah, I understand. Go ahead and go to sleep. I'll see you when you get here in the morning. I love you. Goodbye. That sort of situation. I don't know if that's exactly what she said, but that's what I imagine the conversation would have gone like, okay? And he drives about 90 minutes away from where he is to a place called Castaic Lake. Now I'm gonna read you a quote from an article, and I'm gonna link that article down in the description, but I don't want to butcher what happened because this is where it gets like really fishy. According to CCTV, Bryce made 3 separate trips to the location where his car would eventually be found wrecked. A camera which was located on Lake Hughes Road, near Lake Castaic, caught Bryce's 2003 Toyota Highlander going up the road at 2:15 a.m., only minutes after he last spoke with Karen. The same camera captured him again, driving up the road at 4:29 a.m. Now, the exact time of this accident is unknown, but it seems that it is somewhere in between 4:15, 4:30, and 5:15 a.m. So somewhere in that 4 to 5 a.m. hour, Bryce crashed his car and then vanished into thin air. So Bryce's car was actually found by police officers who were at Lake Castaic that morning doing a training exercise, and they ended up going to Michael and Karen's home that morning around 8 a.m. to say, hey, we found your son's car, but we didn't find him in it. So Bryce's car was found down the side of an embankment, and then it was turned onto its side, and after doing some like investigative work, you know, like science, they were able to determine that he had driven the car forcefully down this embankment where it had then flipped, and then he left the car after he had wrecked it. They also found a lot of Bryce's personal belongings within the car, including his cell phone and wallet, but it did look like he went into the duffel bag that he had with him and took out something. It's just that they didn't know what he took because they didn't know what was in there in the first place, obviously. I'm a good detective, yeah. Now, since his disappearance, the area that his car was found has been thoroughly searched for Bryce Laspisa himself. However, unfortunately, no results have really come from that search. There have been a few bodies that have been found within the area, but they always seem to come up to be somebody else or unidentifiable or something like that, so we still really have no answers. The most recent update that I have for you guys actually came from October of 2019, so a little less than a year ago, and they found the remains of a human body, and they were in the initial stages of testing to see if that could possibly be Bryce's body, but as of yet, we still have no information or update on that finding. So here we are today. That is the end of the story. I'm sorry that there is no closure, but like I said, this story just like freaking like gets to me. When it comes to the disappearance of Bryce Laspisa, I never know how to cope with it, but I always end up coming back to it every few months and getting scared and uncomfortable by it all over again. So I wanted to share here with you guys. If you are interested in getting involved or know anything about Bryce Laspisa himself, I will leave the relevant links that you guys need to get in contact with the authorities. But other than that, guys, I think that is pretty much it for today's video. I have been yammering on for at least 2 hours. That being said, guys, if you made it all the way here to the end and liked what you saw, make sure you give me a big thumbs up. It really helps out my channel. Also, leave a comment down below letting me know of any other missing persons cases that you may want me to talk about, because I would love to hear about them, dive down that rabbit hole, listen to a bunch of podcasts about it, you know. And finally, guys, thanks so much for watching. My name is Courtney. I run a true horror channel here on YouTube. I like to tell you guys scary stories every single week, so if you guys are interested, make sure you hit the subscribe button and turn on your bell so you're notified every single time that I upload. And with that being said, I'll see you all next week for another new video. Why am I dancing? I have no idea. Bye, guys. Hey, it's me again, telling you keywords again. I'm so sorry. I just have one that I need to say today. Unresolved mystery, unresolved mysteries, unresolved mysteries, unresolved mysteries, unresolved mysteries, unresolved mysteries, unresolved mysteries, unresolved mysteries. Bryce Laspisa. That wasn't really a keyword, but that's what we were talking about today, and it was kind of wild, so. Anyways, I'm gonna go for real this time. Bye, guys.